Again, Ed Bates from Kilworth Chiropractic with another short video about stress. Now, in the last video, I mentioned that embracing stress is more important than trying to avoid or reduce stress. But unfortunately, when people get sick, they tend to only think about their bodies and they completely forget about their minds. And as we mentioned, over 90% of all health problems arise from an internal cause or from our minds. In other words, over 90% of health challenges and problems we face arise from concepts or fixed ideas that we have embedded deep into our subconscious minds. Now, as we'll see in the next example, oftentimes these concepts are not always self-serving, but the reality is that if you accept an idea from someone, that idea will form a concept, and that concept will manifest in the body. So the next somewhat morbid but very, very powerful example that highlights this very graphically was discussed in an old edition of the renowned British Medical Journal. It described a prisoner in India who'd been sentenced to death. Now, at the time, medics and scientists were starting to become aware of the power of our minds. Anyway, the prisoner was due to be executed. However, they gave him a choice: death by hanging or death by a very painless and relatively quick method that involved bleeding him to death. In other words, bleeding him dry. Now, not too surprisingly, the prisoner took the latter and slightly more appealing option. So they had him blindfolded, they restrained him on a bed, and they then cut a slit at the back of his neck, and simultaneously, and without him knowing, started pouring slightly warm water over his neck. They then had a collection bucket underneath where the water was collected. Anyway, apparently you could clearly hear the drip, 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 drip of the water into the bucket. It was fast at first, and then it gradually slowed. Anyway, what do you think happened? Well, according to the article, the prisoner died, and he died after only 6 minutes. And even more amazingly, died without losing a single drop of blood. Furthermore, according to the medics that were present, he went through the exact physiological changes that you would see with someone actually bleeding out. So what exactly happened there? Well, the prisoner was given an idea as to how he was to die. Knowing that he was going to die, he naturally accepted this idea and thus formed a concept in his subconscious mind. And as we mentioned, all concepts manifest in the body. Again, the significance of this is the importance of watching what you were told with regards to your health in your life. For example, what happens if someone you trust simply says something like, "God, you look terrible this morning. Are you feeling okay?" Now, if you accept this idea, which bear in mind is only someone's opinion, I can assure you that you will start to feel unwell. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.